Hello everyone, welcome back to Dark Night Tales. Before we dive in, please show your support, give this video a like and be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss future videos. So let's get started. The first story. For 5 nights in a row someone that passed away 15 years ago appeared in my dreams. Like the title says, for 5 nights in a row I saw someone I was close to in my dreams. All the dreams set up the same way. One of my friends tells me Corey is here and I get really happy and start searching for him. After searching for a bit I finally find him and practically run up to him, but he completely ignores me or gives me cold one-word answers and I wake up not understanding why it's happening. I haven't thought about him in a really long time and he appears in multiple dreams but won't even engage with me. I wish I understood what was happening. I've had a lot of loss in my life and anytime parents, siblings or others that have passed show up they always seem to do so when I need them and are warm to me. Any ideas why this is seemingly random and cold? I wish I had more info but I don't. I haven't thought about him in a really long time, then bam, he's in my dreams ignoring me. The second story. The time I proved to myself ghosts are real. It was the spring of 2008. I just started a job at a fancy resort in upstate New York. I was assigned to work in the kitchen of the golf course restaurant, which was a few miles from the main hotel and resort. The restaurant was a small cottage that had a restaurant and a small locker room for golfers of both sexes to use. The first encounter that made me think something was up with this old cottage was in late April. The golf course was not yet open as some snow still lay on the links. Only my boss, the head chef, and I were on the property prepping for a private party that was being hosted at the golf club. The kitchen was small and consisted of a small line with stoves, ovens, broilers, and a ticket window. This then led to a small dishwashing area, that finally led to a small prep area that sported a screen door to the outside. I was in the prep area processing some vegetables for the evening service. It was a sunny warm late April afternoon and I had the screen door open to the outside. All of a sudden I heard the giggling of a child, which sounded like it was coming from just outside the screen door. The laughter got louder and louder till I finally checked out the door to find no one. The still closed golf course was empty. Soon after this, my boss came to check on my progress. I told him the story and asked if he has seen some children playing outside the club. He said no and then told me a story that chilled me. He had worked at those golf clubs for a few seasons now and told me the club was haunted by a little boy. He said he moves stuff and plays tricks on people. I was instantly intrigued. I went out and bought a $20 digital voice recorder from Target. This was 2008 and phones were not what they were today. The cheap device was my plan to see if the story was true. I set the recorder up in the creepiest part of the cottage, the women lockers, where several wait staff reported hearing voices and seeing things. I set the recorder up before I left for the night in the locker room and went home. The next day I came back to work and ran to the back to grab my recorder. I spent that whole day listening at work but was too busy to really listen. When I got back home I threw on some headphones and listened as close as I could. At one point I captured a waitress at the end of their shift talking. They were there grabbing the purses and discussing tips. That's when I heard it. While they chatted I could hear a voice whisper out, "Now, the girls never acknowledge the voice, they keep talking as a voice that sounds like a low whisper is speaking." I was blown away. A $20 recorder and the joke I was trying to disprove was seeming more real by the second. Determined to get to the bottom of this, I ran into work the next day, recorder in hand. I went up to the women's locker room located on the top floor and in the back of the cottage. I was alone. 6:30 a.m., the first to arrive. I took out my $20 recorder from Target and I started to ask questions. "What is your name? Why are you here?" Pausing for a minute or two between questions. Silence. I hear nothing. After 10 questions or so I take my recorder out to my car to hook up to my larger car speakers. This is when I knew once and for all ghosts are very real. So real I well up with tears just writing this for you all. After I ask "What is your name?" I hear clear as day "Bobby, Bobby, Bobby," but this was not a living person. It sounded as if I was making a movie. Like how a creepy ghost boy would sound in a horror movie. But this was real. This was some dumb kid playing around his work with a $20 recorder thinking his boss was pulling his leg. I let dozens and dozens of people hear this tape, scaring friends and family for years with this tape. Eventually, the recorder was lost and I don't have it to share with you today. But again, I'm not a ghost hunter, I'm not selling anything, I'm a guy on the internet telling a story. Since that day I have believed in ghosts. The third story happened today, my office. I work in investments, Wall Street hours. My building is a classic downtown glass skyscraper, but the floors were remodeled recently, custom state-of-the-art technology. Coated locked doors, light sensors, the works. Every day I arrive at the office around 5:30 a.m. and am always the first person on the premises. Others drift in around 8 a.m. During COVID, we might have 5 employees total coming to work. Everyone else works remotely. This morning I arrived at my floor and everything was dark as usual. However, as soon as I entered through the coded security door, I heard a loud female voice talking. Wow, I thought, people are coming back to the office. I was happy to have company. Lights popped on one by one as I advanced down the corridor to my office, and that's when I realized where the voice was coming from. The entire trading floor was black except for my office, which was fully, brightly lit, and the TV was blaring at full volume. Behind a locked door, I stopped walking, bewildered, and looked around to see if anyone else was there, and I was alone. Lights on the entire floor were dark except for my office and where I was standing. I went into my office, turned off the TV, and started my day. 5 minutes later, the TV turned on again. I've been in this office for 7 months and am its first occupant. The motion lights will sometimes activate when I'm alone, but motion lights. Who knows? To be honest, I've never imagined an office building being haunted, but this was a very strange start to my day and I want to see what my Reddit fam thinks. The fourth story. 2 weird experiences in 1 week. This happened recently. I sleep in the same room as my mom, reason why not important. One morning just before I woke up, I suddenly saw my own room clearly and a shadow figure running through the hall. Twice. Its energy felt like a little boy. Later that day my mother asked if I called her in the night. She told me she heard a child say mommy and calling her over and over again. I told her it could have been the children next door, but that's highly unlikely, they never scream in the middle of the night. A few nights later, just before I went to bed, I smelled cigarettes in my room. Which was weird as hell, because 1, the window was closed, 2, there are no smokers in my house. I just ignored it because it was too weird, but in the middle of the night, I suddenly woke up and smelled cigarettes yet again. Like someone was standing next to me. It lasted a few minutes and then the smell was gone. In the morning I asked my mother if she smelled it too. She said yes. Nothing weird has happened after that. The fifth story. My dad and I both dreamed of his mother in the same week. My dad and I aren't ones to remember dreams, but we each had very strange and vivid dream of his mother that passed 11 years ago, both in the same week. Neither of us had ever dreamed of her before then. We each told my mom separately about it and she made the connection for us. The dreams were strange enough that it was memorable for us both. Has anyone heard of anything like this? I don't generally dream of my family members. It stuck with me that he had a dream the same week. This was so vivid, it was like I had really seen her. In my dad's dream, he mentioned she morphed into me as a little kid and he found it very strange dream overall. In my dream we were getting lunch and she showed up to eat with us. She was quiet and at one point leaned into me as if she was falling asleep on me. Perhaps just a nice visit from her, and hopefully not an omen. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.